welcome to episode 102 of Grandma's Room. I'm Ben, and I'm here with Joffrey, and we got a whole load of stinky topics to get into.
It's going to be... I'm trying to think how stinky it is. Like a real dark, messy poop.
Yeah, like almost black.
That means blood?
Yeah.
Blood in your stool? And hopefully we're going to get there today.
Mm-hmm. I think we will. So, what are we doing? We have the death of Nathan Hale and Operation Highjump.
Yes. Nazis,
you,
UFOs.
the whole shebang.
Ice. Mm-hmm.
Ice, like in these veins, or
like cold ice.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Not stupid ice.
Meanie. So do you want to go or do you want me to go?
I don't care. I have a good bit of research.
Let's hear it.
You can hear it in the pages.
Mm-hmm.
How many pages does this sound like?
A lot more than 8.
Okay, I'm going to get an Operation Highjump. And to start that, we need to get into New Schwabenland, also known as New Swabia. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's in Antarctica. So, after Germany's defeat of World War I, it lost the few colonies that it had in Africa and Asia. And to Germany, this made them very upsetty because, they took pride in having land, as any country does. So when the Nazis came to power, their fire for wanting land was sparked again. So they looked for a place that wasn't yet occupied by anybody. So they settled on Antarctica. So in 1939, a German expedition led by Captain Alfred Richter, I think, with orders from Hermann Göring, was approved to annex the land of Antarctica. So, members of the expedition actually got advice for surviving the climate by an American polar explorer, Richard E. Byrd. And the expedition was launched on the ship called the Schwabenland. It was owned by the German Lufthansa airline. They owned a ship that carried 2 aircraft, and the 2 aircraft on the ship, they would get launched by a huge steam catapult. Like, it would literally catapult the planes off the ship. I never heard of that until today. I didn't know it was a thing. So, a large factor in them trying to find this land was them wanting to establish a whaling station because whale oil was very important in making soap and margarine in Germany. And they imported approximately 200,000 metric tons from Norway every year. So there's also rumors of them wanting, like that was a cover story, and that they wanted to actually find an old Aryan colony, like the super white, blonde-haired people.
What? Has there ever been a time in history where there were German, people in Antarctica?
Not Germans, Aryans.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a cult. I'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I've never heard of that in my entire life.
They thought the Aryan race was superior, obviously, but the Aryan race isn't a real thing. It had more to do with, I think it was called the Thule Society. It was a German occult society that thought there was people living down in Earth.
Okay.
So the Germans ended up flying over 350,000 square kilometers of Antarctica, and they took over 11,000 photos over 15 flights.
Holy shit.
Yeah. They were scouring the continent. So expeditions from air, and keep in mind, Antarctica is bigger than America. It's a huge continent.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, expeditions from air and land. They planted flags everywhere, like swastika flags, like Nazi flags.
Mm-hmm.
They also established a base camp and found vegetation growing near hot springs. This is kind of contested. I don't know if they said they found a huge hot spring, and under it was there was plant life and stuff around it. It was this big warm area in Antarctica. Obviously, the placement on the globe wouldn't allow for it, but the heat coming up from inside the Earth would allow it. I don't know if they actually ever found anything like that up there. I don't think that it's official, but it was rumors. So they also established a base camp and found vegetation growing near hot springs. Since World War II broke out, a man named Captain Schirmer wasn't able to launch a second expedition during the war, There was no official operations conducted in New Swabia after like the breakout of World War II. So after the war, Norway took it over, calling it Queen Maud Land after the 1957 Antarctic Treaty. So they named it after the Norwegian princess Martha Ragnhild. Oh, princesses Martha, Ragnhild, and Astrid. Those are some Norwegian names.
Yeah.
So back in 52, Germany named areas within the land since they were the ones that explored it, and they named the Polar Research Station the George von Neumayer. So there's conspiracies about UFOs and stuff being up there. And I got the conspiracies from naziconspiracies.onlc.eu, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So after the first 1939 expedition sent out, a steady stream of expeditions were sent there from white supremacist South Africa. I guess that was like the staging land, like where they staged the expedition. So they launched from South Africa because just go south a little bit. Antarctica's right there. So tons of people from Germany, their government, along with people like hunters, trappers, zoologists, botanists, agriculturists, plant specialists, mycologists, parasitologists, marine biologists, ornithologists.
That's a lot of ologists.
Any kind of sciencemen they sent down there. So they were protected by the German Navy. Deep underground construction teams moved in to build bases. We went into those DUMBs, like the deep underground military bases. It's said in the conspiracy lore that they built a base called Base 211, and it was like a massive underground base. But I don't know if that's true, because was it Antarctica that a U.S. submarine went under Antarctica?
I'd never heard that.
I thought I heard something like that.
Bless you.
Man. That'd be a good time to use the mute button on my
Yeah.
back. Let me find my place. That shook me up. So after enough supplies were brought in and enough of the base was built, scientists showed up with Ultra, which was highly specialized SS team who controls Antarctica. And it also said Ultra was a secret alien interface agency, and the NSA, who was also had contact with the SS. So like our government, the NSA.
Okay.
Ultra is apparently made up of clones that are heavily implanted, virtual cyborgs that can barely be considered human. This is where it starts getting weird. So just before World War II ended, 2 German U-boats, U-530 and U-977, left a Baltic seaport. On board, they had parts for an anti-gravity disc, and they had research and development teams for the discs. Apparently, most of the supplies and information for the discs had been transferred to New Schwabenland during the war. They also had designs for the massive underground complexes and the Harz Mountains, which is in Germany. The 2 U-boats delivered the crews and the parts for the discs in New Schwabenland, and then went to Argentina, where they were captured. They said that was like their, they went to Argentina to be like, hey, we're the last subs here, and they had no information about Antarctica or New Schwabenland or anything.
Mm-hmm.
That was like their cover story. So when the Americans interrogated the crews, they denied everything about Antarctica, but the Americans didn't believe them. So there was an operation mounted to Antarctica by the U.S. And this is where you get to Operation Highjump. And I got this information from a YouTube channel called The Y Files. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Instead of the X Files.
Yeah, the Y. Well, it's like WHY, like why.
Oh, okay.
So in August 1946, led by Admiral E. Byrd. Was that a fart?
What?
Okay. Led by Admiral Byrd. It was a scientific research and military training. This was the cover story. But it was said that they wanted to extend U.S. sovereignty to Antarctica and to destroy a secret Nazi base. So they wanted to capture Nazi secret weapons, flying saucers. UFOs were seen all over the area, apparently all over like Antarctica and everything. So, they also saw them around South America, which is where supposedly a bunch of Nazis went after the war.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like kind of a connection between the two. And I guess it's not a huge trip from Antarctica to South America.
No.
So
honestly, it's probably the same distance from Africa.
that's what I was thinking. I might need to look at a map. But is Argentina at the way bottom of South America?
It wraps around like a big part of the eastern coast, I think.
It's like thin. It's kind of thin, right?
Yeah. Actually, South America is way closer than it is to Africa.
Oh, okay. So when America got to Antarctica, they had over a dozen ships, tons of planes, a submarine, and on January 15th, they started building a base called Little America. So after 40 days, they all evacuated and left. They were supposed to be there for 6 to 8 months, and they left for Chile. And when Admiral Byrd talked to the media, he hinted at possible devastating aerial attacks on the United States. Like there's a new threat.
Areola attacks?
Areola. Yeah.
Wow.
Attacks on the Americans' nipples. So, like, it was thought that he saw something and was like, we need to start working against this threat now because there's a huge threat against us.
Mm-hmm.
So, he also said the U.S. should immediately take defensive measures against forces in the Arctic/Antarctic. So, he said we could be attacked by objects that could fly at insane speeds. And he said there was a new enemy that could attack anywhere in the world at any time, no matter the distance. So, when he got back to D.C., he was interrogated by the CIA, I believe, and the Pentagon. Actually, Pentagon could be any agency. Isn't that like the headquarters for all American agencies?
I have no clue.
So, yeah, he was interrogated and was told never talk about this again. And any member of the military who was there and spoke about it could be sent to prison. So, there were official deaths reported by the Navy when they were in Antarctica, but they were attributed to accidents, and they were actually buried there. Their bodies weren't brought back to America to be buried.
Mm-hmm.
So, officially, the operation was canceled due to poor weather. But if they're going there to train troops in that type of weather...
It's kind of expected.
Yeah, you'd be like, this is good. We want to, like, get you prepared for any type of weather that could be in this climate.
Yeah.
So, that just in my opinion, that didn't really hold up.
Mm-mm.
So... Also, during the operation, there was one episode where Admiral Byrd was flying a plane. Like, he went out on a solo mission, and he went missing for 3 hours. Like, nobody had contact with him or anything.
Yeah.
So, his journals were confiscated, but he also had a secret diary. Like, a little journal that he had. And this was kept secret. Like, I guess his son read it, and once he died, he released the diary. And so, he catalogs this flight in the diary. And this is where it gets fucking crazy. So, he leaves for his flight early in the morning. 8:15, he was at an altitude of 2,300 feet. At 9:10 a.m., he circles an area where he saw a strange pattern in the snow. He was like, I'm going to circle back and get a closer look at it. So, he reports to base, and his instruments start malfunctioning so badly that they're unusable. So, he has to start using the sun to navigate. He maintains eyes on camp, like he can still see it where he's flying. Like he wants to keep it in eyesight just in case something would happen. But then he said his controls start to feel sluggish. Like I think he said he was afraid that ice was building up on the wings or something.
Kind of like if you lose power steering almost.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So he flies towards a mountain range that he sees. And I don't think that they knew about this mountain range, but he was like, I see mountains. They're not like a hallucination or anything. I'm getting closer to them. So he crosses the peaks of the mountains and descends towards a green valley with a river. He's like flying over forests and everything. Like he starts seeing like regular countryside. So now he says he can't see the sun, and the light in this area looks weird. Like it's not like the sun's shining directly on it. So in the valley, he sees what looks like a mammoth. And at first he thought it was an elephant. He's like, what the fuck's an elephant doing? And then he's like, shit, that's a mammoth. Like, he thought they would, like, those are extinct. So he realizes it's not cold anymore. He took his gloves off. He touches the window in his plane. It's warm. His thermometer says it's 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep in mind, he's in Antarctica.
Yeah.
So now his instruments are back to normal, but the radio's not working. So he can't radio back to base and tell them what he's seeing. So he flies for another hour. He's like flying over countryside and everything. And on the horizon, he sees a huge like shining city. So the plane starts shuddering, like it's starting to like lose control. His controls stop working, and he said it feels like lighter than normal, kind of like it's just floating.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" As you would. So on both sides of his plane, he sees like these two discs coming towards him, like UFOs. And then when the discs get closer to him, his engines stop, but he keeps flying. And when the discs get close, he sees swastikas on the side. He sees like
what the
Nazi
fuck?
discs, yeah. So in 1991 leaked documents, we're gonna go back to the Little America base for a minute. So in these leaked documents, it says back at Little America, 2 days in, they start seeing strange lights in the sky, and they're moving like really fast. So 3 hours later, after they see these lights, 5 more lights are seen, and they start coming towards the ships. The ships open fire on them, but they didn't have any effect. The USS Browndon, the radio operator, testified about how strange craft like came right out of the ocean, which is kind of what I think there's official like Navy reports now that they see these like weird craft coming out of the ocean. You know how they started like declassifying UFOs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this account was also backed up by Lieutenant John Sayerson. He said the craft came vertically out of the water at rapid speeds. One of the U.S. aircraft got into the air. He was going to like try to dogfight these things, I guess. And it was immediately hit by some like beam of energy and blew it up. Like it was destroyed. So the USS Maddox, which is a torpedo boat, also went up in flames, started sinking.
When was this?
46, 47.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Why?
So, like, I'm just trying to...
It was like right after World War II.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the USS Maddox was also destroyed. It started sinking. There were multiple attacks following, the last being on February 26th. So, like, over multiple days, they were getting attacked by these lights. So, Sayerson later said he couldn't identify the lights, but wondered if they were German wonder weapons from a base under Antarctica, which I don't know, like, what he heard that would made him think that. Like, I don't know if he talked to Admiral Byrd or what, but, like, because it would make more sense after what we hear. So we're going to go back into Byrd's plane. He just sees the city, the Nazi UFOs come up towards him. So after an hour, his radio starts working again, and he hears a voice speaking English with a German accent. So the voice says they will land him, and he's in good hands, like he's safe and everything. The plane lands itself, and he meets multiple tall men with blonde hair. This is kind of thought to be the Aryans described by that Thule Society, that occult German society that the Nazis got their Aryan ideas from. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the Nazis were occultists, like the high up ones.
Okay.
Like, I don't remember if it was Göring. Who was Himmler? I think it was Himmler. He was big into this stuff. He was Hitler's like right-hand man, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was him. So Byrd gets on the platform with these Aryans, and it levitates them towards the city. So he goes into this building, and he starts going underground, and he's taken to a room where he sees an old man sitting at a table, and he sits with him. This is apparently who they call the master, I guess, of the Aryans. He tells Byrd they've been watching humans for a very long time, and that humans aren't mature enough for atomic energy, and they could easily destroy themselves, which kind of true, I would say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say atomic energy. I'd say the weapons that we made out of it. Mm-hmm. He calls their race the Ariani, and he said they've tried to contact us multiple times, but they're always like fired upon and like chased by jets and everything. Like they're not like they tried to contact us, but we're always violent towards them. So they chose Byrd to carry their message because he was so well respected that they would hope that people would take his message seriously. So after his meeting with the master, he's taken back to his plane and he flies away. A voice comes on his radio and tells him that he now controls his plane again, and it says Auf Wiedersehen and goes away. And he tells the Pentagon officials the master's message and is ordered to remain silent. Like I said, he was interrogated, and he said, "Don't say anything." So years later in his journal, Byrd says he feels the long night coming, but he wants the message to get out. It says, "Just as the long night on the Arctic ends, the brilliant sunshine of truth shall come again, and those who are of darkness shall fall in its light, for I have seen the land beyond the pole."
And it was square?
That center of the great unknown. He died 3 months later. 18 months after his journal was released, the Antarctic Treaty was signed that forbid any country from going to Antarctica without permission from the 12 governments that signed it. And even if you do get permission, you're only allowed to go in a couple designated areas. Like, you can't just go anywhere you want in Antarctica. So it's kind of like, what are they, like, what's being hidden? Like, why aren't you allowed to go anywhere in Antarctica? So, yeah. Yeah, bud, that's it. That's all I have.
That was pretty wild.
Yeah, the moment I heard of he saw the Shining City and the Nazi UFOs, I was kind of like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a cool story at least.
Mm-hmm.
A big truck going past.
I was gonna say, what the hell is that?
That's a UFO. It's a Nazi UFO.
No way. Are you serious?
I just saw it. It flew past the window.
Huh.
What if you got a knock on the door after that?
That'd be nuts.
So yeah, I don't know what to think about it. I think it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. That's pretty far-fetched.
And in that video, I stopped it when there was a segment at the end called The Truth, and it was like him debunking all of it. And I didn't include that. I just wanted to put the story in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have to say personally, I don't believe it.
No.
But
I feel like we would have found out by now.
Yeah, what if that is what all the UFOs are coming from?
Antarctica?
Yeah. Like everyone thinks that it's bullshit, and then like someday it comes out, it's like the aliens. They're in the Antarctica. They're in. I guess the conspiracy is that, like, I think it ties into Hollow Earth. Have you heard that? Hollow Earth is like there's a race of people living inside Earth, and they have an internal sun and everything.
That sounds really stupid.
Should go into that sometime.
Yeah.
I thought I did. I don't think I did.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. That's Operation Highjump.
Hmm.
I do think it's weird, though, that right after this expedition that treaty was signed and there is steel rock parts.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Not us.
Not us. So what do you got for us today?
I got something about this guy named Nathan Hale. So I found this on History Uncovered. Is that the
Instagram page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had a post about him, and I thought it sounded pretty cool. So all this stuff was from Ancestral Findings. It's a YouTube channel. So Nathan Hale, he was a soldier. He fought for the Americans in the American Revolution, and
that name sounds familiar. Nathan Hale.
You've probably heard of him before. I mean, I know you're a history buff. He's like super well known for like his death. So he was hung by the British because he was a spy, and he had this like really prolific. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Prolapse.
Yeah, he had a prolapsed way of going out. So a little bit about him. He was born to very wealthy parents on June 6th, 1755. He came from Coventry, Connecticut, and he had a brother, and he was like super well liked by like all the kids that they knew. And I thought this was pretty interesting. When he was 14, him and his brother, they were sent to Yale. So he's 14 and his brother's 16, and they're both sent to Yale.
So they're smart boys.
Yeah, well, they're also rich.
Yeah. But
anyway, they start making like friends with like powerful connections, including Benjamin Talmage. He'll play a little bit of a big role later on. But they were like part of clubs, like, you know, like most kids are. And there's one, I can't remember what his name was, but the one club, they like debated a bunch of stuff and just like talked about like math and literature and science and stuff like that. And it also included the ethics of slavery, which I thought that was pretty interesting. In 1769. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so Hale was actually a pretty good student. He graduated an honors student, and after he left Yale, he became a teacher and like teaching kids and stuff like that. And so before the Revolutionary War joined, he joined a militia, and so after he joined the war, like they became like a part of the Continental Army, and his regiment was at the siege of Boston. However, he wasn't there because he had a teaching contract, so that meant that he had to stay behind and like fulfill like his teaching for at least the rest of the school year or whatever. Okay. So the whole time, like all his buddies are off fighting, and he's stuck teaching kids. That had to be demoralizing.
And he wanted to fight, right?
Yeah. I can't imagine that, like, they won't let you go, like, fight for your freedom because you have a contract to teach. Mm-hmm. That just sounds so crazy to me.
Can't break contract.
Mm-mm. So, after getting a letter from Talmadge, he watched the battle. Like, he didn't fight, but he was there, like, when the battle was happening. He wrote him a letter, and he was, like, expressing him to join the higher service, and because he said that he had, like, youth on his side. I guess Talmadge was older than him, I'm gonna guess. But anyway, so he wanted him to be, like, something better than, like, just some pesky-ass soldier. And so he became a spy in a regiment of, like, all these other spies. It had the name, it was KNOWL something Raiders.
Null Raiders? Like Knowledge Raiders?
I don't know. But yeah, so he's like with all these other spies, and George Washington actually put this out. He wanted to like find information about the English attack that was going to be happening on Manhattan, because they all knew it was going to happen, but they didn't know when, and they're like what they were going to do.
That attack was apparently a shit show. I heard the whole New York campaign was just like bullshit.
Well, they like caught it on fire.
Manhattan?
Yeah. They said a quarter of Manhattan was burned.
Oh, yeah. By the Americans.
No one knows who did it. It could have been the Americans to stop the British, or the British just did it to, F you.
I just finished reading a book on the Revolution, and apparently George Washington was not like a good general. Like, he lost way more than he won. Mm-hmm. And New York was just a fucking shit show. Like, it was just like massacre after retreat, and like it was not good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in
right
in the middle of your speak.
Yeah, so Big George puts out this little mission, and he wants someone to go into New York, and Hale was the only one in Manhattan at the time anyway, so it kind of got dumped onto him. But, like, no one else volunteered because, like, the British were, like, super anal about spies. Like, if they found out you were a spy, it was, like, you pretty much die, like, the same day they figure you out. So, he only did this for about 2 weeks because him and many other revolutionaries were captured while Manhattan was on fire. I can't remember how many it said, but it was a lot. Because, it was like, there were still people that liked the king, and so they had to, like, just kind of integrate themselves with all these other loyalists. But he didn't really do himself any favors while he was there, because there was this guy, he was a British soldier, and he was hanging out in a bar, and he was sitting with Hale, and Hale, like, blew his cover. The British guy convinced Hale that he was like a revolutionary too, and so he told him all this stuff, and like obviously I guess not too good. And when they were like going around like capturing people, this guy recognized him. He was like, "Hey, nab him too." So after like they found him, the soldier recognized him, and he gave evidence about like what he said to like his like commanders or whatever. And so, like I said, they were dealt with pretty swiftly. The death sentence was hanging. And on September 22nd, 1776, a group of British soldiers came to watch the hanging of the 21-year-old. I thought that was pretty crazy. It's like 21. So, one officer wrote, I can't remember his name, but one officer wrote, like, years later in this journal, and he was talking about Hale, because, like, obviously, after the war, he became, like, a big thing. Even during the war, too. But anyway, he was saying that he was like he conducted himself very calmly, and he said something along the lines of that like death would someday like come for them as well, so just be expecting it. But I thought that was kind of badass. But like the most important part of his little speech, it was his last words. I only regret that I have one. I only regret I have but one life to lose for my country.
I know that quote.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was Hale.
That's like a pretty badass thing to say. I thought this was pretty interesting. Another source I read, it said that he might have gotten this from a play from 1713, and like a lot of people knew about it. Like the Americans knew about it, the English knew about it. But there's this like big long speech before it gets to that part. But he might have been quoting that. We don't know. But so and then he's hung, and that inspires a lot of people to fight. And there's like songs and ballads and stories, all sorts of stuff written about him. So that's like a big driving force for the Patriots.
He's like a martyr for the cause.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that last thing that he said, like, death will come for all of you too? Do you think that was like his last effort to like get in their heads before
Maybe.
they hung him?
Probably. But yeah, so he dies and everyone loves him. He was on the half cent, I guess.
There's a half cent?
Mm-hmm.
Still?
No.
I'm saying.
I don't know when they stopped it, but like I've seen it in movies and stuff.
That's probably back when money had like a lot more value.
Yeah.
Because like $1 back then was what today?
A lot more than our dollar.
I'm gonna look it up.
It was first minted in 1793 and was last minted in 1857.
$1 back then would be, well, $100 back in 1776 was 3,400 today.
Holy shit!
So like 34 times. So it's like $34, $1.
Yeah.
So what would a cent be? $3.40. I don't know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I wish I could time travel and take all my now money and use it back then. You know how fun that would be? You could buy whatever you wanted.
Well, what if they saw it and they're like, what the fuck is this? You just draw a picture of Benjamin Franklin on this thing?
That's a good point. You'd have to find older dollars. I'm not talking about to like 1776. I'm talking about like the 1800s or the 1900s.
You have to find someone like, hey, this is future money.
Yeah.
Why don't you trade me?
Hasn't even been minted yet.
This is the brand new dollar. Like, this says 2022. I like doing that though, thinking about like what today's technology, like if you just went back with it yourself, like a cell phone, do you think they would think that was like witchcraft?
Oh my god. Well, wait, in the 1700s or like...
There were still witches being burned back then, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah. Or was that the 1600s?
It was for sure in the 1600s, but I'm sure it was still happening. I know it wasn't happening as much, at least, but...
I'm sure there were.
Yeah. A lot more religion back then.
Yeah.
Everything. That's like today. What would you see that's like normal technology for our future that would look like magic to us? Is that UFOs?
What?
Like if something would come back in time to us.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And it was just like, it blew your mind so much. You're like, what the fuck?
Flying cars.
Flying cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'd recognize that it's a car at least, and you'd recognize that it's like technological. But what if something was so mind-blowing
Okay,
that you're like, what the fuck? Like it looks paranormal.
Yeah.
Like, what if that's UFOs? Things that can just move at like insane speeds, like breaking our laws of physics just because we haven't discovered it yet.
Okay. Do you know, have you seen another throwback? Willie or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Like the original one?
Yeah.
Maybe once. I don't remember anything from it.
Oh, 1 sec.
I've never seen a kid turn into a blueberry. That'd look pretty magical.
My bad. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
That's the original, right?
Yeah.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
God, he was so fucking weird in that movie.
Do you know that part at the very end of the movie when he's in the glass elevator and it shoots through the ceiling and it just like kind of like floats around, but it's an elevator.
I don't really remember that movie.
That's what it'd be for me.
That specific piece?
Yeah.
An elevator that can move anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, what if there's just some way, like, you could just, like, instantaneously be in another dimension?
That'd be pretty wild.
That seems pretty magical.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think that's what psychedelics are.
What? A dimension?
That, like, you're still in your body. Yeah, that doesn't look familiar to me at all.
Oh.
But, like, they think that that you're still... This is a theory, obviously, that you're still in your body, but your mind is actually taken to another dimension. Because so many people see the same things on psychedelics. Like, they see these little beings running around and everything.
Okay.
And I heard stories that, like, if you take these drugs and listen to music while you're on the drugs, that, like, the beings will, like, dance to the music and everything. Like, sounds weird, dude.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I say I wouldn't be interested in trying it.
Oh.
Don't tell my boss.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Is that all today? Is that it?
So.
Anything else? Nothing at all?
No.
How you liking the headphones?
I like them a lot. It's weird. It's really weird.
What, because you can just hear your own voice in your ears?
Yeah.
It was weird when we first started. It's kind of normal. It's a lot better to, like, know where you're at like, to the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah. You can follow us on stuff, on socials.
Like?
Instagram, we're Grandma's Room Podcast. We're on Facebook. I still haven't posted shit. We've had that for, like, a year now.
Who knows?
I haven't posted anything. I haven't been on our Facebook. Yeah, fuck Facebook. I don't like Facebook.
Yeah, me neither.
Twitter, we're at room_grandma. We just post the same shit on both of those.
Yeah.
See, you can watch us on YouTube and Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, all the big boys, like we say every time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all for the socials.
Spotify playlists. We got some stuff that we hope you guys might like to listen to. We got Grandma's Saloon, that's like old country. Grandma's Jukebox, that's old like rock and roll music pretty much. Grandma's Guitar Case, that's like alternative and new rock. Grandma's Trap House, that's rap.
Oh, sorry. I was on the playlist.
Grandma's
Blues Club,
that's like old blues style music. Grandma's Crimbus Tree, which that's like kind of self-explanatory. Grandma's Clam Jams, that's coming to an end. 80s like party music. Grandma's Opium Den, that's just kind of vibe and music. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh yeah. Now look at this.
I don't know if that'll come in through the. I don't think it'll come in through the recordings. I think that just you and I heard that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, thanks for listening, people.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us on another stinky episode.
Any last thoughts? Random thoughts?
Cake.
It's cake.
Cake.
Just cake.
Cake.
So yeah.
Stay golden.